Meet Pete. Pete doesn't know it yet, but in 3 hours and 41 minutes at 7:43 a.m., he will be rushing his pregnant wife Abby to the hospital. He won't be thinking about whether his car is charged and able to safely cover the distance from here to there, because the engineers who designed and built Pete's car already thought all about it. SAE International assembled a team of engineers from all over the world to think systematically about the charging of Pete's car. These engineers developed a series of standards that made mass production of Pete's car safe, affordable, and environmentally sustainable. But Pete won't have to think about any of that. He's probably never even heard of us. And we're fine with that. Because in helping the engineers keep Pete's car fully charged and safe, we've done our job. Sleep well, Pete.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Formula SAE presentation event overview. Thank you for joining us today and to the SAE Detroit section for hosting this event. I am Matthew Meyer, your moderator. Just a little bit of background about me. I'm an SAE member from the Detroit section. I graduated from Lawrence Tech University. I was in their Formula SAE program. I was also the SAE student chapter president. And today I now work at General Motors as an EV propulsion lead engineer. Before we start, I just want to address a couple of housekeeping items. All participants are muted with the camera off to keep the integrity of the meeting. Please do not attempt to unmute yourself or turn your camera during this discussion out of the courtesy to our speaker. We do encourage you to use the chat function to ask any questions that you may have. You can start now. Also, for your benefit, this video is being recorded and will be posted on SAE's Detroit section's YouTube channel at a later date. The chat function is down below, so just go ahead and click it and you can start right now. Today, we're going to be hearing from Adam Zemke, President from Launch Michigan and President Event, and the Presentation Event Captain with Formula SAE Michigan. Adam will provide you with information to make your Formula SAE team more successful. The discussion will give you the opportunity to understand the intent of the event and to ask questions to ensure you do not miss details and provide you with tips on how to be successful. Welcome, Adam. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Matt, and appreciate the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with everyone here today. I have the honor of serving as the presentation event captain for Formula SAE Michigan. I've served in this role since, I think it's about 2010, actually. It's been a long time, but very excited. I was a competitor within Formula SAE from 2005 to 2008. When I attended Michigan State University for my undergraduate and graduate degrees in mechanical engineering. And I've since left the engineering world, but serve in some other roles with regard to education policy, and I'm very supportive of Formula SAE and the opportunities it provides to students. So excited to be with you here today, go through a little bit of presentation, and if there's anything else, I'll turn it back to Matt, and then we can get going.
We could jump straight into the presentation.
Okay.
Feel free to share your screen.
All right, thank you.
And to everyone, I'm going to be watching the chat box, so please feel free as you come up with questions. I will be recording them and letting Adam know. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the presentation event, also known as the business presentation event, and you know, the last few years for the business presentation have looked different, just like the competition has looked different. This year is no different. We have some different concepts and a little bit of a hybrid way of having everyone present. So we're going to go through that today, and then certainly answer any questions you have. You know, don't hesitate to let Matt know in the chat. If you have a question, please feel free to enumerate it, and we'll do our best to get it answered. You know, so even though some of the logistics and semantics of the Formula SAE business presentation event have changed, the experience is very similar. And it is really about building each team's soft skills and ensuring that each team is thinking about Formula SAE from a product development standpoint. You know, Formula SAE, oftentimes, especially if you are an engineer or have an engineering background, you think of it as an engineering competition, and it really is not. Engineering is a key component to the competition, but the competition is about your ability to design, build, cost out and bring to manufacturing fruition a product. And in this particular product, it's a race car. And you know, since I was a competitor in Formula SAE, the product has even more evolved in the fact that we are now doing both internal combustion as well as electric vehicles. And so it's really an exciting way of expanding product development, and certainly a good learning experience. A few key tips. You know, this is something that we talk about all the time, and you'll see in some documentation guidance that SAE provides. You know, the judges are to be treated as they are executives of an organization. Over the years, the roles of these judges have shifted in terms of what we expect folks to view. We want to be a little more broad, and this has been consistent over the last 5 or 6 years as I've been captain. That they are not necessarily from a manufacturing company. They are from an organization you are seeking to partner with, and you need to tell them what you're looking for in that regard. So you should assume that each of the judges represent different executives from different areas of the organization you're looking to partner with. So they could be from investors, through engineers, through academic consultants, representing any of the areas that go into product development, including engineering, production, marketing, finance, and you know, so don't necessarily simply talk to one aspect. This is about selling your business plan around your vehicle to an organization. So you need to be diverse in what you're talking about. They're going to be evaluated based on the content, organization, visual aids, as well as the presenter's delivery and the team's response to questions. So there are 4 areas of development. The score sheet for by which you're going to be judged, and what goes into each of those areas is on fsaeonline.com. And so you can take a look at it. It is up to date. We have adjusted it over the years. The current one is there, as well as the concept. We'll get into that in a minute. This is really important. As the business presentation event has evolved over the years, and certainly as teams have become more competitive, they become more creative. And that's a really good thing. That is exactly what we want to see. But in some cases, that creativity has led them astray from presenting on the product that they are looking to sell. And we've seen presentations focused on creating video games or creating racetracks, to name a couple. And those are great ideas, but those are not what the business presentation is about. The business presentation is about marketing the product that you are bringing to the competition. And all of the plan around engineering and marketing and production that is associated with that product, not an enhancement to that product like a racetrack or a video game. So focus on the product you are bringing to the competition. Format of the experience this year is different, as I stated earlier. We're in a hybrid situation. So the way what this means for the competitions in Michigan, there are 2 competitions in Michigan this year. What this means is that we're going to be doing a first round of business presentation judging in a virtual experience. This is going to be utilizing the SAE Hop-In virtual platform. And then based on the scores of that first round, there's going to be a second round of judging. And this is a unique thing in Formula SAE in the United States. If you go to Europe, they've had these multiple rounds of judging in the past, and we have done a singular round, but then had a finals that were reprised for everyone, but were not scored. We're evolving that this year, and so that is a difference in competition evolution. But we're excited about it. I think this is a real big step for the United States, and I think we've learned a lot from the European competitions. So that first round of judging in the virtual format for the May competition, if you're registered for the May competition, you will do the business presentation April 28th between 11 and 5 Eastern. And if you're in for the June competition, you're going to be May 6th between 11 and 5 Eastern. This information is all on that FSAE online website under series resources for the business presentation event. So you can find all this information there. You don't need to screenshot my screen or anything like that. I pulled this right off the website to make sure that I had everything lined up. There is a concept. So the concept has been our way as judges and captains to evolve the event. And so we have a team of captains for the what historically represent the competitions in North America. We get together and talk regularly about what we're going to do to evolve the North American events. And the business presentation concept is what came out of our desire to evolve things several years ago. And we've seen different concepts come up each year. It's no different this year, except that we have two concepts, one for IC class, internal combustion class vehicles, and one for electric class vehicles. And I'll put these up on the screen here in just 1 second so you can see the difference. Again, all of this is online on fsaeonline.com, and you can download this document as well as the score sheet at the same time. So here's the concept for the internal combustion cars. I'm not going to read all of this. But you know, it is here. It is in that concept document, and the same with the electric cars. Here and in that concept document. Download that from fsaeonline.com, and you can take a look at it. I will just remind folks that the format of the experience, even though it's in a virtual environment, is going to be the same. There are 30-minute windows. There's preparation time within that 30-minute window to get set up, to get the Zoom running right, make sure you don't have technical difficulties. You're allotted that time. Then there's a presentation window, which is a hard cap of 10 minutes. It may seem harsh to be cut off in the middle of a sentence, but this is an area where we are trying to decrease subjectivity. And as a result of that, we're very strict on the 10-minute time window. It's just an element of fairness that we need to maintain from judging queue to judging queue. So practice, make sure that your presentation is between that 9 and 10-minute mark, and you will be in good shape. If you're closer to the 10 minutes, maybe see what you can do to cut it down slightly. But if you're significantly less than 9 minutes, see what you can do to add in, because you're going to want to be close to that time minute. You don't want to leave time on the clock, and you don't want to go over. So it's a balancing act. Just be careful, but try and be precise. This is an important thing. We always emphasize this is in the rules. We put it right in the concept this year. All presenters must be introduced at the start of the presentation. That is very important. Read the rules as to why that is important, because if you have somebody, you can have whoever you want as part of the presentation team. We don't limit that. But they cannot answer any questions later if they are not a presenter. Only presenters can speak. That has been a hard and fast rule for this event for a long time. In fact, I think maybe since its inception. But they don't all have to say something throughout the presentation. You could have 5 people in the room, 3 of whom are technical experts and 2 presenters. And as long as they are all introduced, those 3 technical experts could help provide information later during the Q&A stage, and do not have to say anything else outside of that. But if they're not introduced, they can't speak. That's enumerated in the rules. I'll go into the specific rule later, or I'll note it later, so you can state. Historically, we've had some submissions prior to this event. There is no submission for this year. So the first item that you are going to be submitting to judges is literally going to be your presentation the day of. So in that April and May timeframe, that's going to be your first interaction with these judges. So no submission outside of that for 2022. And just as a note, you cannot make it into the second round of judging without going through the first round. So you have to participate in the virtual presentation in order to be eligible for that in-person presentation or finals, if you will, on site. So that's an important consideration. Don't miss your virtual presentation. Scoring, as I mentioned earlier, this is the score sheet. This is the one that is online right now, and so you can download it. The content is worth 15 points. Organization is worth 10. Visual aids and delivery are worth 15. And then questions, your answers to questions are worth 10. That adds into a raw score of 50 points. And then we normalize we run it through an equation, as you see. Here's 75 times points of the team divided by the maximum points available. That gets you your total score, and then we do normalize to try and deal with subjectivity from Q to Q. And we've gone through normalization in the past. Sometimes there's more normalization than others, but we really try and be fair. And so take a look at that scoring sheet. We really try and provide for lead-ins for judges, and we give you that information ahead of time so that you have a good idea as to what kind of questions or what things the judges are looking for in each of those scored areas. The content, these are just some tips that we've accumulated over the years. Make sure you include an outline of the presentation. Make sure you have a clear introduction, clear conclusion, logical flow through everything. If things are feeling clunky to you as a presenter, then they are certainly clunky to the judges. And it's always a good idea to try and test these things out with teammates, with folks who are not part of the team, maybe even are less aware of the competition or the event, to try and get for some organic feedback before the event. That's going to be very important to helping you be successful. If the first time you've given this presentation is right before the judges, unless you are a complete rock star, you are probably going to struggle. So try and make sure that you are prepared, that you rehearse, and that you're excited and relaxed for the event. It's meant to be a fun event, but it's also meant to be one that you're ready for. So again, read the scoring sheet. Emphasize this a lot. I put it up here because it is important that you understand what's in the scoring sheet and what is in the rules. Delivering visual aids. Especially if you're an engineer by background, we have a bad habit. I say we because I've had this bad habit still today of putting a lot of words on a slide. We're really big into communicating information, and the reality is that that's not actually the way you should present. And so, this phrase here, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It makes a lot of sense. I put this up here specifically because it's kind of contrary to the picture. The picture is clean and elegant, and the red text here is jumbled and features a lot of words. Don't do what the red text is communicating, but listen, read the words that I've got on the screen today. So clean visual aids, one of the most important things you could do. Also, strong speech patterns and clearly communicating, also very important. Feel free to look at recording devices to add in so that you have a copy of this so that you can use it for future teams, etc. Picking the right presenters is really important. You could have the most knowledgeable person, your greatest technical expert. They may be your worst communicator, and it is going to be really important that you have your right communicators. So pick somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's excited about it, but make sure that they understand how to give an exciting, engaging presentation. I often ask the question of, what makes you excited about being part of this event? And if you know what makes you excited, you can easily sell that to others. If you don't believe in it, if you're not excited about being there, that's also going to be conveyed. It's very hard to break authenticity. It's also hard to beat authenticity. And so that is an important thing to note. Different is good. What makes your program unique and better? How are the other teams structured? How is your team structure better or different? What are you conveying? What are you selling? And feel free to talk about these things. The judges, they're not limited to the questions that are on the scoring sheet. We use that as a guide, but a lot of these judges are really enthusiastic about this event, and they've been here a long time. And that's a good thing because that means that they've seen a lot of different presentations. They're well prepared, but they could ask you anything. So be ready to answer the questions that are on the screen and others that are in the scoring sheet and others that won't appear on either. It's kind of like a test. You just really don't know what is going to be on the test. So you will get asked questions from the judges, as I stated. Be concise, be confident. Don't seek to answer with a yes or a no. Seek to elaborate, even if it's just one sentence. You want to convey a message that is not short and abrupt, like a yes or no answer would. and be ready for multiple questions because you're going to get them. There is a period of time that is allotted within that 30-minute window specifically for Q&A, and I've yet to find a judging queue who does not take up all of it to get into Q&A. They take that, judges take that as their opportunity to pull out and really test your knowledge. You could be very well prepared and an excellent presenter, but if your knowledge is only surface level deep, they're going to find it. And so that is going to be important. Don't forget, again, emphasize this because it is easy to forget. You got to read the rules. Make sure you understand exactly what it is that the rules state, what's in those concepts, and what your limitations are. If you have questions about this event or any other event, you know, there is a way to ask questions of the judges ahead of time or ask questions of the captains about the event. We get those questions. So if you have a question about the event, don't hesitate to ask. If you have a question about the rules, don't hesitate to ask. Those come to us. Make sure you read the rules though. Rule S.2.5.2 is the one that talks about presenters. I always put that in this presentation every year because it is one of the ones that people forget about the most frequent, and it is so important. People cannot answer questions if they are not introduced as a presenter. And they're considered not even being in the room. And so that is going to be very important. So take advantage of it. We ask you to bring in whomever you need, but make sure they're introduced as a presenter. And I think that is about it for the presentation event summary. Matt, I know, has some other things that he wants to cover before we get into Q&A, or I don't want to state that because actually I could be wrong. I'm not sure how you want to juggle this, Matt. My apologies.
Yeah, it's all good. I just wanted to remind everybody, please type your questions in the chat box if you have any. I have a few for you, Adam. First off, what type of background do the judges have? Are they all automotive? Are they aero? Are they business? Are they non-engineers? Like, can you give me a little bit of an example?
Yeah, you know, it's a good question. You know, the reality is that they are all over. And, you know, historically in Michigan, we have always been heavier in the automotive area. You know, the competition is generously supported by the OEMs and supply base, with both financial support and staffing and volunteer support. So I would suspect that because of both of the competitions being in Michigan this year, you're going to see more automotive than you would if you had a West Coast competition or a competition down south. But I cannot guarantee that. And I know that the team, Kathleen McDonald and Kaylee Zundel, put together recruits from all over. And so don't simply think that they're going to be automotive. They could be from elsewhere as well. And don't be surprised if they are. So I leave that as an open-ended answer because,
Okay.
frankly, I do not have an answer to that yet, and we will not until the event.
I know when I was in my presentation competition, there were a couple people that were not engineers. There was a person that had aero background and a person that had suspension background, but they were definitely professionals and knew what we were talking about. So.
Yeah, I mean, as I put in the slide deck too, you know, the industry could be very diverse. I guarantee you the background will be very diverse. You are going to have finance people, you're going to have marketing people, you're going to have human resources folks. You'll certainly have engineers with a variety of backgrounds. But the industry is the one thing I can't commit to at this point. Otherwise, make sure that you're not simply presenting a technical report. That's not what this event is about.
Okay, thank you. My next question that I have for you is and you explained it a little bit earlier, but what makes a top 10 team? Is it dress? Is it presentation? Is it like, is there a couple, you know, can you explain a little bit? Is there something that really differentiates a top 10 team that when you're watching them, you go, this is great?
Yeah, so that's a really hard question, actually almost an impossible one. So I'll give you also an impossible answer to it. You know, it's perfection, of course, but the reality is that's not true. You know, it's a mix of really solid delivery. It's a mix of creativity. there's a reason why we have really over the years added in this specificity around making sure the presentation is related to the product that you're bringing, because what we found is that creativity is really almost limitless with teams, and that's really good. That the folks who are really thinking outside the box are going to be amazing contributors to the future of technology in our workforce, both in our state and in our country, and that's important. It's so important that we had to adjust the rules, and so creativity really crucial, outside the box thinking really crucial. Neither of those are substitutes for a fine presentation, excellent delivery, high quality visual aids, and content that is subjective, or not subjective,
Okay.
substantive, really matters.
All right. Well, let me break it down. What about like a top 3 team? Is there normally 1 or 2 points difference, like between someone that's first and third, or is it usually larger than that? Like,
yeah, no, it really honestly has varied. I can tell you that I've seen raw scores that were 1/10 of a point difference or 1/2 a point difference, and I've seen them that are 3 or 4 points difference between the top 3. It really just does depend on the year, and so that's part of the reason we normalize too, because you do have differences in judges. We're, at the end of the day, all judges are people, and so there's an important reason for normalization in that regard. But it does depend on the year. I will tell you that over the years, the quality of the presentation across the board has increased dramatically. I've given winning presentations before at North American Formula SAE events, and I don't think my winning presentation would be in the top 25 today.
Wow.
That tells you, and I'm not that old. I mean, Matt, I think I'm a little older than you, but not that old, and at least I hope not. But that tells you, over the years since I competed, just the quality of the presentation, creativity. The delivery is you always have just some real rock stars on delivery. People are just excellent public speakers. They're motivational. They're excited. That is more of a hit and miss, but the creativity has just skyrocketed with this event. And that's a really positive thing. And I think we're seeing that across the board with a number of the static events, the design event, the cost event, and certainly it's reflected in the performance on the track.
Okay. All right. One of the questions that came in is, what are the most frequently made mistakes when presenting, and how should we go about avoiding those mistakes? I know, like, for my background, we probably, on my team years ago, we only practiced maybe 2 or 3 times, and we felt good about it, back at the shop, and yeah, well, we're okay, I guess. What, in your eyes, what are the most frequent mistakes that you see?
Definitely not practicing is the number one. And it's clear, even if you have a speaker who's a little nervous, not practicing shows more glaringly than anything else, And so if you put the time in and you rehearse it with people who are not going to tell you the same thing, they're going to tell you what they really see is wrong, then you will be very well prepared. So practice. The other thing is spend time on it. If you are putting the presentation together the night before the event and you're not thinking through things ahead of time, it's going to be reflected in your score. And so work on this ahead of time. Get a team of people together that is focused on doing this event. Just like you have your team leaders putting together their design reports and all of the elements they need to prove their case to the design judges, you should have a team of people working on the presentation event. That's what we always did. And then we would have a subset of that team who would be part of the actual presenters. Each person here is playing a specific role, and you want the best people ready and with adequate preparation in order to play those roles. So I would say putting time in, or lack thereof, is one of the biggest fallacies that we've seen. And certainly lack of rehearsal is another one.
Okay. All right. So I have a 2-part question for you. When should a team start working on the presentation event? And then is your answer going to be different between a first-year team and a team with a lot of experience?
Well, the concept's already published, so you could start working any day you want. I would say you should start thinking about it now. This type of creativity, just like designing a car, you're not going to get your best work by burning through it the first weekend that you've got it. You may get some good work, but you need time to reflect upon things and sit back and let your mind wander a little bit. It's no different with this. And so if you start early, you start jotting down thoughts and then let them evolve and work on it over a course of time. One, it becomes manageable because I know you're doing other things too. You're going to school and you're also working on the car most likely and working on other events potentially for the competition. So those things are all important and we know that you've got to get those done. But if you start early and you take your time with it and you allow your creativity to flow, and if you do dedicate some folks on the team, and really, if you're a team leader or team captain, assigning them to it, or finding people who are very interested, volunteers, to do it, you're gonna have more success. And so, I would say sort of self-accountability, ownership, and making sure that you're starting early enough so that you can enhance those creative muscles are probably the best pieces of advice. And there is no reason you can't start now because you've got all of the information.
Yeah. You almost you basically gave the answer to my next question. I do just want to jot in here and say, if you do have anybody has a question, please use the chat function. It's at the bottom of the screen. You just got to click on chat and type your question into the window. Back when I was on our team, we had a couple students that were from the business school, and they volunteered on our formula team, and they helped us out with the presentation. So it wasn't just engineers going over there, it was business students, and they helped out a lot. They had a lot of experience explaining how the business side would work. So it was they were very comfortable talking, and it definitely helped me out. When teams, I want to use the word audit themselves, but that's not the right word. When we want to practice, we should practice with people like maybe our faculty advisors or parents that are in the world of business. Do you think we should talk to them beforehand about what we're doing, or like how can we get people to help us? Because practice makes us perfect. Should we only go with people that know the competition? Should we just grab parents and bring them all into the shop and say, okay, we're going to run this by you, tell us what we're doing wrong, what makes it smoother? Do you have any substance? Like, how can we help the teams out with that?
I have lots of thoughts on this. So, I mean, the reality is you need all of them. But the one thing that you can do, and it's a good idea, is give them the section of rules. Give any person you're going to present in front of, give them the section of rules that applies to the event, and give them the score sheet, give them the concept, give them the stuff that everybody else has that's looking at the event. Certainly the information the judges are looking at before the event. And then don't give them anything else. And just say, we're going to come and give you a presentation on our concept to design, manufacture, cost out, and market a product that fits these things. And we want you to judge us on it. And I would recommend multiple different groups of individuals. Certainly team members are good. Faculty advisor, especially if they've been there a long time, very good. But that's not enough. You need people who are fresh eyes. Family members would be good if they're working in industry. It doesn't have to be automotive, by the way. Any sort of industry is helpful that deals with manufacturing of a product. And you want to take each of their feedback seriously, but also if you have, just like you have one judge where we look at their feedback and it's glaringly different from the other judges, we flag that. you want to do the same thing too. Just because one person says you're totally off and you've presented to 4 other groups and they're loving it, doesn't mean that that one person is right. And
Okay.
so always take feedback seriously and adjust, but don't stress yourself out if your feedback is a little diverse.
Okay. All right. I have only one more question for you. So please, everybody that's called in, if you have a question, please use the chat. My question is there anything after competition, when competition is over, that a team can do to help prepare next year? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, definitely. So, historically we've videotaped the finals of the competition, and we're going to be doing something this year to ensure that you have access to seeing what the good teams are, the really top teams. That was an important consideration for us as event captains, as we moved the event forward with this scored finals experience. We know that people really value some of those past YouTube videos of the top 3 teams reprising their presentation. We don't want to cut out that value, and so I would always, look at the old ones. First of all, there's a number of them online. Still, you can Google Formula SAE presentation highlights, or I think that's I think that's probably what the majority of the videos will come up under. And look at some of those presentations. And so I would always recommend doing that. The other thing I would do is I would see about recording it. I don't think you can record through Hopin, but you could certainly utilize a phone or something like that, or a device to record and capture the presentation. Look at those things. That was actually something when I was a student. I was preceded by a really good series of teammates who documented things really well. And so when I came in, even though I was a little more green into the situation, I had a lot of material that I could reference. And even though we deviated from that over time, that was very valuable to give me a higher starting bar from which to begin with. And so I would always recommend doing that. The biggest problem that teams experience with Formula SAE is that knowledge drop off that happens as teams graduate, and lack of replenishment of new team members and engagement with them in leadership roles throughout the time that transition happens. And so that is knowledge drop off was one of our biggest hurdles when I was a student. And I imagine it was probably one of yours as well. I hear it from teams all the time. And and it's like that not only with vehicle, not with the design, it's like it with the other events too, like cost and business presentation. And so take that seriously, try and help prepare the future of your teams. You ideally always, as an alumni, I'm a very proud MSU Formula alumni, and I always want to see our teams be successful. I do have to I'm not a judge for a reason, because I want to make sure that we're unbiased. And that's the other thing too. All of our judges, a lot of them are alumni. None of our judges grade their home school. And we are very, very cognizant of wanting to be independent. And so we have there's one guy who always does this, one of the captains, always creates a spreadsheet and realigns everybody so that we have judges who are only scoring teams that they don't have a personal relationship with. Oh. And so that's another point too, just as an FYI. But
all right, thank you. Yeah. I've always wondered that, so it's very interesting to me. Awesome.
To take you back to I was just thinking as we were talking through about things to think about, things that are some of the larger snafus, I guess, if you will, that where people run into, certainly the presentation, delivery and the preparation shows. The other thing that it may seem easy to overlook, especially in a virtual environment, make sure you're online early enough. You don't want to be late for this thing, and you don't want your internet to go out in the middle of it. Every time I get on a Zoom, even before this presentation, I was thinking to myself that what happens if my internet goes out? And it's the same thing with this type of thing. And obviously people are understanding, especially in today's environment where nothing's really quite the same. But you know, be cognizant of that. You know, be on early, be ready, just like you would if you were there in person. You show up early, bring all your equipment, you double check your equipment working properly ahead of time. You know, get your checklist ready of things to look out for. Do the same thing with a virtual thing. It might be a shorter checklist, but do the same thing. And certainly, if you make it to the second round on site, make sure that you're bringing up that old school checklist pre-COVID, and you got your projector and your extension cords and computers all set up right too.
Thank you. Great information, Adam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I don't have any other questions coming in. So how about we roll to the next slide, Adam? I just want to remind everybody, next week is the 2022 Engineering Week. SAE International is hosting daily activities. You can see them listed below. For those that are interested, I would definitely check this out, because if you volunteer, you can be put in a pool and a chance to win a set of Apple AirPods. You can find more information at the link down below, going to sae.org/participate/engineersweek 2022. And Adam, if you can go to the next slide for me. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. And a special thank you to Adam, our presenter, the SAE Detroit section staff, Alba Cologne, for your involvement in putting together today's presentation. For any questions or inquiries, please email the SAE Detroit section staff at events@sae-detroit.org, which is shown on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who might find it useful, and subscribing to our SAE Detroit section YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.